Oh, all right. We are back to the stream. Welcome back to the stream. Oh man, I'm tired and computers are terrible and Tuco's already being a lot. Oh, Tuke boy, you coming up here? You doing the job of gradually revealing all the hardware on my desk? How about this handsome tiger? So as of the last stream, we got this thing building a pretty viable grub and a init-rd. This is the 486 embedded motherboard from a voting machine. Early 2000s vintage, made with a lot of 90s parts. It's got a 486 system on chip, a lot of ISA hardware on board, a Visa Local Bus graphics adapter. That little yellow sticker there is a compact flash card that I stuck in there in place of its usual firmware card. Normally it boots off of a 16 megabyte card with the firmware, and I have a 64 meg card on there, which I was trying to boot an entire Linux distro off of that, but I was just constantly running out of space. And then kind of the last straw on that whole situation was that the card here apparently has got some bad sectors near the end. And so I want to both limit how much I'm rewriting the card and use a lot less of it. So my current configuration is that the card slot is only used for grub. I've got the grub core, a lot of grub modules, and an initial grub configuration file on that card. That initial configuration file does a bunch of incantations to set up the PCMCIA controller and turn off the watchdog timer, and then set up the lower level parallel ATA driver in grub. And then that gives it access to not just the card that it booted off of, which BIOS can see, but also a larger removable card back here, which in this case is a 64 gigabyte SD card going through an emulator, which is behind all that and kind of blurry. There we go. Annual focus for the win. Anyway, behind all those probes, there is an SD to CF adapter, which seems to be working all right so far. That lets us use whatever modern SD card we want, apparently. There's also a network card right behind that. So Linux is going to be using both of those cards, but Grub is only going to have support for the storage card, and only in a fairly hard-coded configuration at this point. And this is my wonderful handsome boy. Good evening, folks. So I think we're basically at the point where we have a thing that boots and then demonstrates the same error as before with the interrupt routing or whatever it is that's actually causing the problem with the PCMCIA kind of intermittently. I think the first thing to do on that actual problem is to just turn on a bunch of debugging and see if we can get some consistent idea of how it's failing, which I know we've kind of tried to go down that route before, but this is a much more consistent setup now. The other thing that would be, oh, you're standing on my keyboard again. Okay, let's unplug the keyboard. The other thing that'd be cool is to just, oh gosh, Tico. Boy. Anyway, it would just be nice to have a way of writing updates to the card. It's a little faster. I was struggling with that last time, partly because I was kind of bouncing my flash images through a Raspberry Pi, but partly because I was DDing an entire image, even though sometimes I only want to make a small change. So maybe it's worth having a script I can use to rsync over small changes. Tuco likes sitting on this keyboard. Tuco, is that a comfortable little pedestal? Is it ergonomic? When I have 2 water bottles, I'm always like, why do I have 2 water bottles? And when I have 1 bottle, I'm like, why is my 1 bottle empty? I'm gonna turn on some of this equipment, but Tuco just needs some attention now too. Oh, Tuco. Oh, he's purring a bunch now. A little more slack on the microphone cable here. Oh, I have the low cut filter on. It's no good for the purrs. Dude. Yeah, I don't know about that bass cut filter on the mic. It seems more efficient to do it in the DAW at this point. It really throws me off if I have these headphones too close to my ears when I'm trying to speak now, because the noise reduction filter has so much lag on it. Alright, like here I am getting my audio setup latency down to just a couple of milliseconds, and then here comes the noise reduction filter at like 30 something milliseconds of latency. It would actually be kind of handy to set up a network boot menu item for this in Grub. So we could just go right to a network block device. Oh, are you taking my seat? Gosh. Is it still blah? Is it still echoing? Cannot talk with those headphones on. I don't even have room to stand. I think you might have actually just been literally hearing my headphones. Like, you might have been hearing the same echo that I was hearing IRL, and yes, I agree, it was bad. Okay. Where does this even go? We'll make that work, maybe. What if I had a place to sit? Tuco's not gonna want both these chairs, will he? Sure, Mike, I buy Tuco a green cat toy for the studio. Actually, the green cat toy could be a useful hole to see the text editor underneath it. Could I trade nylon bolts for a place to sit? I've never been able to bargain with Tuco. I'm gonna reboot this so we can actually see what it did on the screen. Oh, after maybe trimming down the window. The window does not need to be this spacious. Oh, why doesn't Alt drop. Oh, because I unplugged the keyboard because Tuco was sitting on it. I'm leaving myself a trap. Unplugging the keyboard. Oh, is he eating? Good old OS initialization code stub. We can just ask for permission to run grub maybe as a treat. So that grub menu should have more things. I should add a netboot item to that. For now, it's trying to boot off the PCMCIA card, but via an initRD route. And we are getting a network device, but failing. Would I even want that to be different? Now I'm wondering how I set that up, because I guess I could have different menu items and they would just have different arguments for the same initRD script. Anyway, basically we have two PC card slots, and right now one is working and the other isn't. And I would like to turn up the debug. Anti-post beep filter. I thought you'd be able to hear it a little bit. A2Go. There's no good place for that, is there? Oh, yeah. That's cool. So yeah, it's audible, but not super annoying. That's cool. That's kind of what I was hoping for with the audio. I've still been tweaking the audio setup here, but still trying to balance a bunch of things. Basically, I have a couple of mics here that are pretty convenient for getting voice, but they pick up a whole bunch of EMI, so I can't get like nice quiet background, like room noise with them really. So I've got them pretty heavily filtered for, like right now, I was actually using a combination of filters on the last stream. I think that mostly just made it sound a little bit weird. And so right now I'm back to just using a compressor and RN noise. So I've got a compressor, in this case X42 comp, and then an RN noise based plugin after that. Just for these dynamic mics, they're also just like super high gain preamps on these. So they just pick up lots of noise in general. So like I could turn off the filter. They sound pretty terrible without the filter. Like you're gonna say it sounds like ground loop noise, but at this point it's a combination of EMI noise and possibly some stuff from the audio interface that I'm not getting, but like it's something that I don't get on the other microphones, so it's specific to these like high gain dynamic mics. It's also specific to the orientation the mic is in, and it doesn't change if I remove the cabling entirely. So it seems pretty safe to say that it's EMI at this point, but there's maybe some projects in like adding some better grounding on these lights that would probably cut out some of it. Yeah, so this is the unfiltered dynamic mic, and there it is by itself. So this is just one mic. It's not going to be as noisy. The compressor makes the noise stand out a lot more. The compressor is useful though, because then I can like be slightly differently positioned, and the level doesn't change like really substantially like it would otherwise. And then there's the actual noise suppressor filter, which seems to work much better after the compressor than before. Anyway, to me, this seemed easier to listen to than with the noise or with the varying listening level, but it also just seems like weird and uncanny. So I wanted to add some actual like regular room noise back. So I've got this much lower noise mic that's actually mounted on the camera, and that's what was adding that sound back in. Is that there? Oh, it was set really low. Oh, you can hear Tuco licking. Yeah, turning up the gain on that means I get more interesting room noise. It also means that there's more potential for echo if you end up picking up my voice through that mic too. There's a question about whether the compressor serves as a noise gate. No, it's kind of the opposite. It's more like the compressor, because it's pushing the dynamic range like closer together. It's compressing the dynamic range. It means that the noise, which would have been at a much lower volume, is louder relative to the voice. So the compressor is useful for kind of listenability as long as it doesn't make the noise worse. And so the noise gating effect that you're getting is coming from the RN noise plugin, which is it's basically doing a bunch of individual filters on spectral bands to sort of noise gate them dynamically based on some context that it picks up using a model that's trained on a bunch of speech data. It's a whole interesting open source project if you wanted to look into that. It's a zip.org thing, RN noise, and that's the library that a bunch of other projects have turned into different sorts of plugins. And this is somebody's LADSPA plugin, which I'm using in Ardor. Anyway, audio tangent. will this do the thing? I think we got more debugging. Transparent cat toy. Oh man, I might have to make this a pretty short stream. I'm really tired. Yesterday's stream went kind of late, and then I ended up having to get up pretty early today. Whoa, that worked this time. If I just turn on enough debugging, it'll work each time, right? Will it keep working if I turn off the debugging so I can clear out my console a little bit? Oh, what is this even? Ooh. Okay. I really need to add some things to the initRD script, right? Like devfs and debugfs. I mean, I could also not, right? Like this is stuff that'll get taken care of later by udev once we're further into boot. It's just we're in initRD. It'd be slightly convenient to have some of these things. But look at that, we've got SDB. That's our root file system. Look at that. on. Maybe this would have succeeded if we had a delay in the script. Like, I think this worked. It just didn't work soon enough. And then the script is bad at retrying because it already has stuff mounted. Okay, it's mounting. Oh, and we're in OpenRC. We're running init scripts off the SD card now. I didn't expect to get this far today. I mean, this is of course not reliable. It's a fluke that we're getting this far, but it's nice to see it. I wonder if we also have network. Yeah, the cat's not impressed. That's a good point. If this actually boots, I've got a bunch of packages installed on this. And if we have network, we could even install more. Oh, login. Yeah, distracted by petting the cat. We've got an entire login prompt. Oh, and it's on the screen too. Look at that. We could this one. An entire login prompt. This screen really needs a cat on it. It's kind of nice being able to fuss with OBS without having to worry that things are going to crash, though. This new setup is definitely an improvement. All right, kitty square. I need to turn off that autofocus too. You'd think that was an audio glitch, but that was a physical creaking noise coming from something here. What do we have? So the disk that we booted off of is SDA, which is, well, we could fdisk it. It's a 64 meg card, of which we're only using 4 meg, and it just has grub on it. We can still access that if we want to mess with it, but we're just using that to boot. And then we have SDB. We could do stuff like swap on. Swap on. Oh, UDEV is running. Why does that say we have no space available? I didn't think the file system was actually full. This APK has coffee making abilities. Got the important stuff. Oh god, I was worried I didn't give myself a way to quit from C-Matrix for a sec. I do actually have Control C here, because we have like a full-on TTY control set up and everything. The C-Matrix also quits if you press a key, I guess. Or if you press Q specifically. Anyway, do we have a network? We have a network adapter. Really, the solution is I just have to boot up with a bunch of debug options enabled. Okay, we actually are legitimately out of hard disk space here. Is that true? I'm gonna have to check my build environment. I didn't think I put this much stuff on the disk, so now I'm concerned. It's trivial to make the disk bigger if I need to make it bigger. Oh no, there's always, every time I have a problem with Linux, somebody's always got a shell command for me in chat. Okay, I guess we are actually, I'm actually getting dropped interrupt notices from the network card, so we're not completely working. We still are having some interrupt routing issues, just, you know, one card at a time. So one thing that's useful to know here is that without interrupts, the network card still works because it's polling for data that, you know, it's polling for pending interrupt flags actually every time it checks for media status, which I think is every 10 milliseconds. So you get all these extra opportunities to poll for incoming packets or for buffer space outgoing, even if the interrupts are completely not working, which is the situation I think we're in right now. And when we're in that state, pings have a latency of usually a multiple of 10 milliseconds, whereas when we're not in that state, pings tend to come back in like a few milliseconds. So I think right now we'll see, you know, multiples of 10 milliseconds approximately, like probably 20 or 30 milliseconds. 10, 20, one that came back in 35 for some reason. And then we'll see that there aren't, there only may be like a couple interrupts for this device. Oh, which one is it? It's PCMCI 1. Yeah, there's just one interrupt there. The one is interesting, right? Like, either that's unrelated to this PC card, or the one actually means that we got one interrupt and then failed to send an acknowledgement, and it's a, like, or maybe it's a level triggered, edge triggered issue. But then that parallel ATA card is getting plenty of interrupts. It's good because we're swapping on it now. If we are swapping, which I hope we're not. We could. Anyway, so in this configuration, I should expect both the storage and the network to work, sort of. The storage will be fast and the network will be slow. Let's see how fast the storage is. That's enough. A megabyte per second reads. I don't think block size is going to matter at this rate. Alright, this is probably... Oh, wait, maybe it does. Oh. Unless that was cached. Little column A, little column B. Anyway, that's definitely fast enough to be usable. Do we have DNS? I think I had all this set up on one of the images, but I guess it's not here on this one. Have to look at that. Or maybe it just fell off the end of this image. So yeah, what is actually going on with that? Just have to go back to the build environment here. Yeah, I think I'm just missing the OpenRC enable thing to enable the network script. I'm not super worried about that right now. And so UDF is running. I'm just concerned because if it was over full, I should have actually gotten a build error. If it's like exactly full, then that's just creepy. All right, and I guess I don't have resolve.conf anymore. I'm just expecting to do that via DHCP, which is fine. I think I just don't have the right init script enabled. Alright, I'm just gonna make this disk image bigger. There's a question about what the Docker image is for. I'm using Docker as a way to build these root images for running Linux on this old voting machine. The machine is not actually running Docker. I'm just using it as a way to, to cache parts of a build. And the image that I'm running on it is based on a Docker Alpine i386 image. And I'm using a bunch of custom pieces. I've got a custom grub, custom kernel, custom X server. But a bunch of pieces that are just regular Alpine binaries. Yeah, it was pretty much exactly a gigabyte. All right. I guess now it's half full. All right, let's just stick this on the card. I guess I might also just actually add some PCMCIA related debugging to Grub in a slightly more permanent way. I keep removing KGDB weight because I don't think I actually want that by default. So let's not have that. Specify this multiple times, right? Was that really annoying one? Actually, I don't think I want to do it that way. I think I want to leave them all on for a while and then turn them all off in my init script. even called? Something like that. Is that even right? Yeah, every time someone asks me what the Docker file is for, and I say it's for building an embedded Linux thing, someone else is always like, why don't you use embedded Linux thing XYZ? And I mean, the honest answer is that this grew out of something that was very small and simple, and now it's more complicated. But I think even if I was starting from exactly this set of things that I know, right, and just going after a port using an existing build system, I would be finding a bunch of things that are weird and probably having to customize it. And so there's always a balance between like what you gain versus what you lose from using any kind of framework. And so like more framework is not always better, and something that is basically just a make file and a Docker file that runs a bunch of commands is quite flexible, even if it doesn't do much for you. And it's all I wanted here was a way of automating doing something weird repeatedly. Tuco. I'm gonna get Tuco some fresh food. This is better. Eat this instead of that. It's still kind of hot though. Can you eat this one until this other one cools? I smell Tiger who loves to eat disgusting things. It's a question about which chats I'm checking. I'm in the YouTube chat and the Twitch chat. I have not personally been using Gitter in a while, and there is currently no chat thing installed on Diode Zone. There exists a chat plugin for PeerTube, and I tried it, and I didn't like it. It didn't seem to be very baked, so I'll leave it in the oven a little longer. I don't see any fails. Did I actually get that address right? Or that path? Journal or gene kernel? I guess so. Okay. Maybe that's fine, and maybe we should just try this on the real hardware. I'll just up with my indentation there again. Right, I was doing tabs here. Hello, hello. This too goes so out of focus when that arm of the chair is not very interesting. How do I get this one right? Let's see if this is any faster. Unimpressed. Right, none of the actual processes take responsibility for this, but underneath 2code, the total disk write is like 20 megs a second. There we go. Tuco. The SD card is still blinking. Okay, you've actually done. Oh gosh, was that mounted? Let's just try it. I don't think I would have been writing. is a problem I've seen intermittently. It looks like sometimes it actually has some sort of file system trouble with the card. I haven't debugged that yet. That looks like it's got the new options in it. Booting. Are we just like long past failed here? I think we're actually gonna have to properly wait for this device to show up in the script. Should retry if we control D here. Yeah. So there's a bunch of different ways to do that. I'll probably just do something simple and easy, like a little shell script polling loop that checks every second or two. Now that we have so much disk space, we can actually run UDEV. So this should be basically the same, but with more free disk space, I hope. Cool. Cool. Now our disk is half full instead of completely full. Maybe we can run DH client. I probably should have used the init script to start that. Ah, we can ping the internet. Not quickly, but you know, such is life without working interrupt routing. And a 66 megahertz CPU. Yeah, that interrupts dropped is why it's so slow right now. But yeah. So I already have a bunch of packages installed, but we should be able to APK add additional stuff if we want. I want to just try downloading something for the novelty of it. I don't think I have Nano on here. Did I put Nano on? This might fail in some cases because it's so slow and unreliably. Like basically, you should just expect anything you do in the network to have an arbitrary couple of 10 millisecond delays attached to it. like any packet. Oh, we probably need a clock first. Is that the problem? Should I just run setup Alpine? What packages did I actually include in here? So we should have a compiler, an SSH server, Xorg, GDB, Minicom. You know, some good stuff. We could try to run. Oh, we have that SimCity game. What was that called? Micropolis. We could try running that again with local storage. Oh, setup Alpine is going to download and install some stuff, so I guess there's that. Huh. Don't know how broken this is going to be. Oh, Tuke's not in my chair anymore, even. Oh, it's waiting for me to select a keyboard layout. Gosh, yeah, running setup Alpine seems like a pretty bad experience so far. Oh, we do have those activity LEDs for the 2 PC card slots. There are just long delays every so often. Should we try running Xorg on the console while that's running setup Alpine? I should turn on the swap space. We're gonna do that. Oh, we got a hostname prompt. I think we can just do swap on dev sdb2. I don't really want to change the throwaway root password just yet. Okay, are we having a clock problem? 2099, yeah, probably. Like, I could try to set some of this stuff up myself, but like a lot of this is just going to be configured by the regular Alpine setup process. Nice if this image was just ready to run, though. Can I be extremely vague and just say date 2021? No. I mostly just want to set that from NTP though, which I think the script is going to do in a minute. There are no time zones installed. Well, so much for that. That's better. Maybe a setup Alpine will work better after setting the date. Because I think like locales and stuff would have been in the packages that it failed to install. I could also just run startx. Do I have IO top? No. You can tell it's actually communicating over the network because we're dropping interrupts, otherwise wouldn't be much indication of progress until the bar actually started ticking over. I'm dating myself every time I ping Yahoo, but really, that's what they're good for these days, is pinging. Like, I don't want to ping Google because they're weird, right? Like, for all I know, they've got hardware, in every telecom access building, like responding directly to pings. It doesn't feel like a very representative sample to ping Google. Pinging Yahoo feels more like pinging a normal, large-scale internet service. This looks more successful. Sorry, I'm playing with the feet on the keyboard now and making noises. Ah, yes, now we have packages. Maybe we'll have keyboard in X11 now. I think that was a locales problem. Variants. Oh yeah, I'll just crack my back enough that I can see it on the VU meter. I'm sure everyone appreciates that. Oh gosh, the chroma key is a little too permissive right now. I can't quite zoom in as much as I was hoping, but those two LEDs to the right of the LCD text screen, which is now transparent green, those blink when the PC cards have activity. But Tuco is much more fun to watch, so I'm going to turn it back there. This is like asking me useful questions about the Ethernet now. That's nice. I wanted to set this to mount that large partition as like a /home, so I can store stuff there without having to worry about wiping it anytime I update this image from the Docker build. Doing some more network. Do we have time zones now? We do. We are now live doing Alpine setup on a voting machine, or setup Alpine. If we get bored of doing this, we could look through the log files from that boot up process and try to track down that interrupt routing issue. But honestly, I'm probably too tired to make much sense out of them right now, so maybe setting up a Linux distro is maybe more my speed at the moment. I'm sure it's helping that I'm running CMatrix, right? Now, we were running out of memory doing some package management stuff earlier, so I'm hoping the swap space helps. You want this food, honey? Ooh, am I missing some kernel hot plug feature I need? I thought that was a legacy feature, but I don't actually know off the top of my head. NTP, sure. $20.99. I don't actually know how it came up with $20.99 for the date. I don't think we wiped the CMOS memory. It's possible at some point somebody just reset the clock. So I'm guessing the clock got reset. I think that the CMOS resets the clock to 1999 when it resets the clock. I'm guessing that's what happened. And then Linux has just given up entirely on the 20th century, and it's decided that if it sees 99 in that register, it's 2099. What does that permission denied actually mean? Maybe I should have stuck to the BusyBox NTP client. Did something go? Oh, did the? I think it reset the clock to the hardware clock, which broke all the certificates again. Oh my gosh. That's a great mess. Yeah, okay, now it's 1999 instead of 2099. Okay. Let's try this again. Welcome to the slow alpine zone. The best setup alpine experience that 66 megahertz and 32 megs of RAM can bring you. With a somewhat buggy kernel, so yeah, probably not actually the best experience, but we're getting there. It's gonna notice the packages are already installed, right? Okay, I think my choices thus far were fine. I just need to watch out for when it resets the clock. And then in my other terminal here, run NTPD again to set it again. Yeah, there's a comment in chat that certificates are good for planned obsolescence, I guess. It does seem like you want a way to keep security software up to date in general. Well, we do have the swap in FS tab. Maybe when I reboot that, the swap will already be mounted. I'll give it a slightly better password so we can turn on SSH at least for a little while. I should also just paste in a key over the serial port. To comment in chat about FS tab versus FSTAB. I feel like both are equally meaningful. It's like NumPy versus NumPy. Or grub versus grub. I don't think that one's real. I think the first of those that made a big impression on me was cron. Because for a long time I had only heard my dad say it and he said crone. Which is like, I don't know. I guess I could see how you make that mistake, but it also doesn't make any sense. It's like chronological order or chronological order. Maybe it's a legit regional dialect. Yeah, the list is long. I agree. There are a lot of things like this, especially in Unix. Yeah, no, totally. They both make sense. It's FSTab because it's the file system table, and then it's FSTab because it's for stabbing your files together into, a nice handy skewer that you can carry with you. Do we have a new question here? It's not just making noise. Oh yeah, there are some weird ones like ETC or Etsy. Especially now that there's a whole other thing that is also pronounced like Etsy. And then www versus like dub or World Wide Web. Okay. I think we're gonna try a cronny. Is our clock situation still okay over here? Yes. Let's go with the default NTP client. Someone's asking in chat how I even broke the clock. It's funny the expectations you have. Why would you expect the clock to work? Like, there are several moving parts involved. There's time zones, there's hardware clock versus local clock versus like whatever network clocks you're using. I was just talking earlier about how it would sometimes show 1999 and sometimes show 2099. Yeah, this is working a little better. I mean, except for all the dropped network interrupts. Yeah, this is looking all right so far. And one thing that's also nice is that now I've got a very minimal grub setup on the CF card, and everything else is just a regular SD card. So I could actually have multiple different environments set up for this thing that I can swap out easily by swapping out regular SD cards. So I'm pretty happy about that. We could have one that we set up kind of manually like this, and then we could still experiment with kind of fully automatically generated images. I also kind of want to just try loading, what is that thing called? Memdisk. I want to try using Memdisk and Grub to load DOS on here. So I think I could use that to load a memory resident DOS image from the removable card using this Grub support for PCMCIA that we've got working now. Oh man, should we detect a mirror? Oh, I do actually need to change that in my FS tab. Gotta wait for Vim to load. Oh. This does actually need to be pretty different. Root FS is actually SDB1, not SDA1. Oh my gosh. It's very hard to see. Whoever said Vim was fast and lightweight, right? Like as far as like compared to Alpines, I should actually be running VI. Actually, the BusyBox VI is much lighter weight than Vim. I have both installed on this image. Oh yeah, the syntax highlighting on here is running really slow. Gosh, yeah, let's switch editors. This is not okay. I mean, maybe it's better when I'm not also trying to index the repository. My Vim is so slow. I wonder how badly this is swapping right now. Oh, I have multiple consoles. Speaking of swapping, I can just make the problem worse. Yeah, Vim is having trouble syntax highlighting FS tab. I'm sure I'm going to make things better by logging in another terminal. It's a multi-user machine now, right? Timed out. No. This is unpleasant. Yeah, the disk looks very busy. Can you see the blinking from here? I don't actually know which one's the disk and which one's the network off the top of my head, but we should have both represented. There's a question, what am I running this instance on? Which cloud am I launching my Linux VM on? It's a 486. It's an industrial PC basically that is part of a voting machine. It's this thing that's on my desk here. It's connected to the oscope, although the oscope isn't turned on right now. Streaming from the 486, that would be kind of interesting, right? I was wondering what the best way would be to get a live screen capture. And I mean, there's a nice digital video bus here, but it'd be interesting if there was a way that did not require soldering a bunch of stuff to the motherboard and or making an interposer board that you can plug in. I mean, this is doing its repository indexing. The system might be too swapping to log in right now. Yeah, no, I mean, this machine should be capable of running a decent desktop environment. It runs Windows 3.1 just fine. I mean, it wasn't actually intended to run any regular operating system, though. It normally boots off of a card that's only 16 megs, so you could fit DOS on there, but they used a small embedded operating system. Oh, it looks like Vim changed modes. Where'd you go? Chico, let's hang out. Don't scratch at the screen, honey. Okay. Definitely should have run a smaller editor than Vim just there. Got some good out of focus VU meters in the background. Click, click, click. Gosh, this updating repository indexes stage probably isn't expecting to run on a computer with only 32 megs of RAM. That's the problem here. And now we're swapping to SD card. Oh. You're going after that toe, okay. This camera's really showing off its low light. Yeah, I think it's doing a download, right? We are still getting periodic interrupt dropped messages, which wouldn't happen if it was just swapping, like decompressing these indices. I'm not sure how big to expect this to be. Like in RAM. I just want this to finish enough that I can start X. I have a hunch the keyboard is going to work. Anyway, computer slowness induced cat break. Not that we needed an excuse for a cat break. Wonder who this is for. Vim is still not responsive. The repository thing seems to be making slow progress. We have somebody in chat complaining about the cat and asking for more code. I mean, I'm not sure what to say about that. I got an I/O error. That's interesting. I wonder if something actually did run out of memory or timed out. Hey, Tuco. Well, I'm pretty tired. I might have to wrap this up and we'll see we can make some more progress tomorrow. I'll let this keep going until it reaches a good stopping point at least and record that. And so hopefully we can take one of a couple of different routes and either reassemble this thing's hardware or test out the touchscreen or try to debug this interrupt routing issue some more. Or just play with some user space stuff. It seems like the boot situation is basically working with Grub on the CF card. Not like 100% working, but basically, I don't know. It might be enough to reassemble it and get it off my desk. Ah, Tuco just let out a big purr. Have a good night, folks. I will see you tomorrow.